Welcome to the Golf Improvement Podcast, episode 163.
Welcome to the podcast for golf lovers and enthusiasts who are looking to take their games to new heights. Dedicated to custom club fitting, short game improvement, and effective practice to improve your golf game. This is the Golf Improvement Podcast with your host, Tony Wright.
Hello, this is Tony Wright from Game Improvement Golf in Oak Ridge, Tennessee with the Golf Improvement Podcast, dedicated to sharing useful information on professional club fitting, short game improvement, and effective practice techniques. I create exceptional golf clubs. You shoot lower scores. It's the Tuesday after Christmas, and I hope you have all had a safe and Merry Christmas, and that Santa gave you all of the golf presents you wanted this year. Today, you're going to hear my seventh end-of-the-year interview, my seventh annual end-of-the-year interview with my good friend Mike McFadden, 39-year PGA teaching professional and professional club fitter. Mike is the sports director at the Jakobsberg Hotel and Golf Resort in Jakobsberg, Germany. We talked in this interview about a wide range of topics related to helping you improve your golf games. But the true theme of our discussion was the role of adaptability in learning and playing your best golf. It's great to have you back, Mike. Enjoy this interview with Mike McFadden.
www.gameimprovementgolf.com.
Hello, this is Tony Wright with episode 163 of the Golf Improvement Podcast. And since it's the end of the year, welcome back, and I believe here's the number, 39-year PGA golf professional Mike McFadden, the sports director at the Jakobsberg Hotel and Golf Resort in Jakobsberg, Germany. Mike, I'm really excited I'm always excited to get to do interviews with you, and I think we've identified some great things to talk about and questions. And so thanks for being back. And it's always wonderful, too, when Skype works and I get to push the button and the first time the phone goes through. So good to talk with you today.
Amazing. Connecting a small village in Germany with Oak Ridge, Tennessee, just by pushing a button. Thanks, Tony, for having me.
Oh, you bet. Well, I thought today we'd start out and ask if Santa brought you any golf-related things for Christmas this year. And, maybe a little bit about how things are going related to COVID in Germany. But maybe not, because you and I talked a little bit about that before. But, particularly, as golfy as you and I are and others, what did Santa bring you related to golf this year?
Nothing.
Oh, come on.
Absolutely nothing. I have everything I need for golf, and I wouldn't wait till Christmas to get it if I didn't have it. You know what I got for Christmas? An NBA basketball, indoor-outdoor. I got it for myself.
You're still shooting the hoops, huh?
Yeah, I got two basketball courts in my baskets in my driveway. And my old ball was also a Christmas present, by the way. My old ball was only indoor. It was the actual version they use in the games, and I used it outdoor, and it took its toll. And it was falling apart. The leather was coming off. So I got me a new basketball. But Santa, nothing.
Well, shooting hoops has some relationships to golf, I'm sure, too. I don't know if I ever told you, that was it for me. In the beginning, I used to shoot hook shots from 20 feet because of Bill Bradley. I'm sure you remember him, right?
New York Knicks.
From New York Knicks and Princeton. Yeah, I used to practice.
Princeton and New York Knicks.
That's right.
I could tell you the team: Dave DeBuscher, Walt Frazier, Earl Monroe, Willis Reed.
That's right.
My wife,
Phil Jackson.
My mother loved Willis Reed. The year he came limping out of, I get goosebumps now. Come limping out. They beat my Lakers. I couldn't take it. but I know Bill Bradley.
Willis Reed was tough. Well, they all had to be. So, well, great. Well, I don't think I've ever asked you this in past interviews. What led you to get into professional club fitting and, actually doing fittings and building clubs yourself? And I know you don't do as much of the building yourself now, but I know you do fittings, and I don't believe many PGA professionals get into what I call the professional side of this, okay? They might, recommend clubs, I'm going to call it, right? But go the whole gambit of real fittings and making things exactly like you do in a fitting. So tell us a little bit about that.
After 39 years, you said it earlier, being golf professional, that's not a short story, Tony. But I'll give you the shortest version I can come up with.
Yeah.
I had the good fortune. I was at a American military course here when I first started out as a young assistant pro, and the head pro was Picasso with golf clubs. He was a genius. He was an artist. He would do everything with persimmon woods and inserts and sole plates and whipping. And from him, I learned that it was important. I could have learned a lot more, especially some of the trade skills, but I was busy teaching and doing my thing, but I learned that it was important. And then later, probably about 10 years later, I got my own shop and started selling golf clubs. And it didn't take me long to realize these people aren't learning what I'm trying to teach them, and I think it's the golf club. I think they've got ill-suited equipment in their hands to get them to do what I wanted them to do. So I started looking around at what else could I do. I had the typical OEMs in my shop, and even some of their fitting systems, but it just wasn't working. And then I invited Chuck Hogan from Sport Enhancement Associates here, and he got me hooked up with Henry Griffiths. And that was back in the mid-'90s, and they already had interchangeable heads and 20-degree loft drivers in the 90s. And what I really liked about them, because that was another one of the things I hated about dealing with original equipment manufacturers at that time. I mean, Germany is for beginners. It was a beginner golf world. If I wanted to order a set of clubs, the only way I could get it is 3-through sand wedge. And I'm like, this old lady needs like a driver, a transport club, and a couple irons. She doesn't need 3-through sandwich. And that's all anyone would sell me. And Henry Griffiths would sell me one club any way I wanted it. I thought that was like ice cream. That was like a great invention. And as I got into it more, I had 5 good years, a 5-year run with them doing real good. I started realizing, they don't have everything I need either. And then I got like most of the new guys I found out about Golfsmith and Golfworks and stuff like that. Snake Eyes, I think, was the very first thing I ever built myself. And through that, the company that was providing me that, I found out about Tom Wishon. And what was really good was they didn't carry everything in Germany here that Tom had. So I called him in Durango, spoke with Matt, and said, can I get stuff from you that they don't have here? And he said, of course you can. So the next winter I went to Durango, and since then I've been building and selling his stuff primarily.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But what got me started was I realized they don't have the right equipment to help them learn what they need to learn.
That's a good segue into our next question too, because it's a connection to it. But I am going to ask sort of a side question because I'm curious. Gosh, I've read everything from Chuck Hogan. He just sort of is quiet. I hope he's still alive. Do you ever have any connections with him? I mean, he created brilliant books and brilliant learning tools, I thought.
He was way ahead of his time. Yeah. Way ahead with how motor learning functions, how learning actually occurs. I haven't heard from him in the year he was here, and then 2000 was probably the last time I heard anything from him. I tried to Google him a couple times, nothing.
Yeah, it's a shame. I hope he's okay, but his books live on. I mean, I can go back and look at the things in there that he did, and they're still very relevant. So,
I probably have, from all the little quotes I like using to make a point, I probably have at least 5 that I've used ever since I met him from him.
What's the number one? Because I'm sure you got it at the tip of your tongue.
What the thought that came to me right now is learning happens with every repetition. Huh. Anytime you do anything, learning happens. So what do you want to learn?
Yeah. Or what do you want to ignore if you're doing it? But you're learning something. Okay, well, I'm going to think about that.
I love it. He made a video. Every shot's a nice shot.
Yeah. He
might not be the one you wanted, but
yeah.
And another one of my favorites was people are basically okay. It's behavior that stinks. And I really, when somebody does something that like kind of irks me, I always try to remember that.
Yeah.
They're basically okay, but what they just did was uncalled for or whatever.
It's so relevant and important right now too, as we, disagree about many things. But it is relevant. Well, our next topic, which is probably the highlight topic today, I think, a friend, and of course it's you, said the single most developed characteristic trait of humans is adaptability. And, talk about the proper relationship. And you said earlier, right, how important clubs were, but, there's this connection between clubs and instruction that is just usually important. The proper relationship between instruction and improvement and professional fitting for golfers.
Yeah, well, I would say I would start with the fit first. You've got to get them to at least have a new golfer or a golfer. You have to have them to have at least one golf club that's kind of okay. You know what I mean? Close. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it can't be far away in any of the major specifications like length or weight or loft or lie, something like that. It needs to be close to what the person has. So I want to check that box first. And once I've checked that box, then I feel like it'll be much easier for me and even more easier for the student to learn whatever it is they need to learn. And I think the problem with golf instruction today is they put too much emphasis on learning to optimize your golf swing and how it looks, and not enough on developing skills, things that you need to learn to make a golf ball do. And that's one of the reasons why the first step would be get a golf club that's pretty close, because then it's easier to learn these skills, like what is the function of club face. When I do this, that happens to the golf ball. Or what happens to dynamic loft when I do this. And not, can I swing pretty?
Yeah. How much can people really change?
That's you know me. I don't have a fatalistic attitude.
Yeah.
I believe you could. What's mistaken is people think they're changing. They're not changing. They're actually developing. Because now we know with modern brain research, you don't forget anything. Learning happens all the time, and it's all on the Festplatte. It's all in your hard drive, meaning when you're doing something one way, that's what Chuck Hogan meant by nice shot, it creates a certain result. It could be a shank, but it was a nice shank because you did exactly what you're supposed to do to hit a shank. Okay? And now you want to learn to hit it more on the center of the face. Well, you didn't forget how to shank. You still know how to shank. You just learned a whole another way to hit a golf ball. And when you approach it like that, then you're not really changing. You're just adding on. You're learning a new skill. The new skill could be, I've sliced all my life, but I'm learning to play with some of the influencing factors, and geez, the ball turns a different direction too. I can get it to turn the other way.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just saying that would be like, to me, this relationship between instruction and improvement. Instruction is too much for, and I went through a phase where I was doing a lot of that. The swing needs to look like this. Well, it doesn't need to look like this. Just watch TV, and you can see people winning with all kinds of different swings. But what they all have in common is they understand things that influence how the ball flies, and they can call them up whenever they want. Maybe not all the time, because the sport is very difficult, but they know how to do it.
And that's the differentiator between, those incredibly skillful people that can just make the ball do all kind of wild, crazy things. And you saw the little video, like I think you saw in my last blog post, the Dustin Johnson thing, right?
Yeah.
My gosh, but to have the knowledge of, for example, how that person can hit the ball out on the toe and hit the ball on the heel and then hit the ball in the center, or hit it 40 yards, 60 yards, 50 yards. That's what starts differentiating people as they get into just super higher levels of improvement. But that the 30 handicapper isn't going to do that all the time. So what's that dividing line between getting those kind of skills that are crazy and just the skills that person wants? You don't understand my question?
Not really, but I think I know where you're headed. And with I'll call it the average golfer, not the high skilled golfer like a Dustin Johnson. The average golfer, there's still a few skills they have to learn if they want to improve and reach their potential. They have to understand what the club face is doing and how the club face influences how the ball flies. That's just a given. You have to learn that. And I've never met anyone that if they took the time to play around with the things that influence club face that didn't learn it. They learned it, everyone. But they don't take the time. They don't have the instruction. They don't have someone telling them this is what you need to do. Try this and see what happens with the ball flight. Try that, see what happens with the ball flight. Tee it up if you're having trouble off the ground. You're not working on centeredness of contact right now or low point. You're working on what happens when the club face is aimed this way or aimed that way and what influences it. And that's something because the ball, basically, Tony, the ball can only do a few things. It can go left or right, up or down, and different distances. So spend some of your time learning how to improve those things. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to learn to hit a shot 40, 50, and 60 yards at will if you're not controlling good contact. That's a prerequisite. You have to have good contact. So figure out why you're not having good contact. Work on that till you do have better contact. Doesn't have to be good. And then start working on trying to hit it 40, 50, 60, whatever the different distances. It's what happens out on the golf course. Every time you go out on the golf course, you're there to solve problems. There's problems out there. One could be a 40-yard pitch. Well, you got to have some kind of answer for a 40-yard pitch. The next hole, you got a 60-yard pitch. Well, you got to know what to do different for the 60-yard pitch.
Now, how about that classic guy that slices the ball like crazy, right? And there are various ways to go at that and combinations. I mean, you could give him a 2-degree close-face driver. You can get him a driver that's shorter with a heavier shaft. You can get him to have a better grip, which, I'll bet many of the people that you see, that's just almost the starting point. And so there's a connection between how far to go either way, right, Mike?
Yeah,
it depends a little bit on the person, maybe, or
what they're willing to do first. In other words, what time do they want to put in? But first, with everyone, I would do like I said earlier. I get the club pretty close to what they'd need. Okay, and then if he does have a dysfunctional grip, then it's the only connection to the golf club is your hands. So I think you should take the time, and I believe in it because I've seen it too often. You can learn grip very quickly, but you shouldn't try to learn grip while you're hitting golf balls. That's a major mistake in learning grip. I say grip, you take a bottle of red wine, you light a fire in the fireplace, you put on some good music, and you get in the living room and learn grip. And your hands have the most nerve endings of anywhere in your body, so you actually learn grip quick. Your hands are smart and adaptable. They learn deep and quick, but you have to give them the right task and do it over and over and do it in a safe environment. The safe environment is no golf ball, no target. If you're hitting golf balls and aiming at a target and trying to get your grip right, I like calling it committing suicide. You're better off to jump from a bridge because it goes quick, you're done. But if you try to fix your grip while you're hitting golf balls, it's slow and painful.
And you also have to trust that part and just have it on there, right? You just have to have your hands on there the right way. And if something different is happening to the ball, just realize that it's going to be that way for a while until you solve that problem of that change, right?
Yeah, but you need to understand what influences what. And that's why a decent functional grip is a really good start. And then when you do some things with the grip a little bit and it changes the ball flight, then you understand the relationship between, okay, the ball flies like this because the club face is doing that because I just moved my hand like this. And I think that's something that I teach my 8-year-old granddaughter. If she can learn it, then an educated adult can.
Ought to be able to, yeah.
And it's always, like I said, I don't have that fatalistic attitude. I believe anyone can learn anything within limits. For instance, I'd love to be able to dunk the basketball, and I can dunk the basketball, but only on the 8.5-foot high court I got out in my driveway. And I'll never be able to learn to dunk a basketball on a regulation court. I don't have the skill. I don't have the DNA. So, yeah, there's limits. I'll never hit it as far as Dustin Johnson, but I can learn to hit it far from my capabilities.
Yeah. Well, that's into the next topic. But any other things related to adaptability that you wanted to say that you haven't kind of thrown in here yet?
Yeah, you need to go in with the right mindset. It's really important because most people have the ability to adaptability. That's how the word comes together.
Yeah.
But they don't have the right, what do I want to say, mindset, attitude.
And
they'd like to control it more and make it happen and force it, and it's much easier if you just experience and adjust.
Yeah.
Try something, experience it, and adjust. When I do this, that happens. Okay, not interesting.
Yeah, just that thought of interesting if you're out on whatever that range is, or if you take a couple balls and go on the course and just hit shots, right? And which is, the next level of being able to learn and integrate it into your game, right?
Yeah, I mean, driving range is a new invention. It's much newer than golf itself. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of I don't give lessons to anybody I haven't played with.
Yeah.
We got to be out on. I want to see what happens out on the golf course. And I have a thing where every Thursday, 4:00 in my calendar, it says play with the pro. And 2 or 3 of my students, I go out and play with them. And every week, I'll tell them, I'll go, hey, Tony, what are you doing next Thursday? You got time? Let's go.
Yeah.
And I play with them, and I don't teach them while we're out on the course. I just experience them. How do they get on with 9 holes?
And then you could talk later or anything.
Yeah, we always do. We usually, I usually set up teams. I try to get it as much harmony in the group as I can. When I tell people to sign up, come on, we're going to go Thursday. And I'll usually go and I say, Tony, looks like it's you and me today. We're going to go play against those two. We're going to play best ball, worst ball. And I always try to get some little match going so that afterwards we go in the clubhouse, have a coffee or a Coke or whatever, and then we talk about what we saw. I talk about with them what I saw.
Yeah, it's a great game. By the way, worst ball is an insidiously difficult little game, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of aggregate. I like best ball, worst ball.
Okay.
Yeah, because a good 8 beats a bad 9, and I want them to still be in the game. And when you play best ball aggregate, you put too much weight on the best ball, and that's not really what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to say to my partner, look, I know it's for an 8, but you sink that putt, we win a point.
Yeah, they get something like that out of it. I want
to see how they perform under pressure. I want to see them when it counts.
Yeah. Well, a few minutes ago, you talked about hitting the ball further, and I can't gauge what's going on in Germany and with your things that you're doing, but it is kind of nutsy cuckoo around here now about everybody talking about finding ways to hit it longer and longer and longer. And, we've talked about that in this podcast a number of times, swing faster. Any new thoughts there, or really is it just in reinforcing what you've already been doing with people about hitting the ball further?
I had the good fortune, and it's just reinforcing. I've been doing this a long time. I had the good fortune that in the 90s, it's actually the year after I invited Chuck Hogan over, I invited Chuck Cook. I had something with Chuck's. And Chuck Cook was here for a week to do a seminar for PGA professionals and then a course for your average golfer. And at that time, I asked Chuck, I go, I need to learn about fitness training for golf or speed training or whatever. And he writes down, he opens his and it was all analog. Then he opens his little book there, like page through it, writes down a name and a telephone number, and he says, call him. And I look at it and I read it. It says, I can't call him. That's Al Vermeil. And he goes, no, call him. Tell him Chuck Cook gave you the number. He'll talk to you. And so I had, like I said, the good fortune. I call Al Vermeil. The very first time I talked to him was for an hour. He gave me an hour's time. I mean, you know who Al Vermeil is?
I think I've heard the name, but I don't remember. So go ahead.
One of the first and foremost sport art specific fitness trainers and speed trainers, conditioning trainers. He worked, I forget the year. I want to say 82, 84, I don't know. San Francisco 49ers, Super Bowl champ.
Now I remember.
And then moved to Chicago Bulls, 6 rings with Michael Jordan. And he loves golf. This guy, and that's why Chuck gave him to me. The guy, if I recall correctly, in our first conversation, he told me he's a handicap. At that time, he was like handicap 6, 7, 8, something like that. I can't remember. But he said he'd trade 1 ring in at least to shoot scratch. Hey, when you got 7 rings, you can give up 1 if you get 7 strokes off your golf game. And so he got me turned on to stuff that was really, really good for golfers for learning to hit the ball farther and swing faster. We were doing high-intensity interval training before that was ever even a term. We were throwing weighted medicine balls and tornado balls off the squash wall in the squash hall, all kinds of stuff for speed, plyometric exercises. Light clubs, heavy clubs.
But it's something that anybody can do at least a little bit of, and get more flexible and maybe gain a little bit. And, it's fun to hit the ball further.
I've never met anyone that did what they were supposed to do when it came to speed training that didn't hit it farther after that. You have to do your due diligence. It's not something like you can take these lighter clubs and make a few swings and you'll automatically be faster. You're tricking your nervous system, but it's not sustainable. But if you do the exercises the way you're supposed to do it and for the distance, you'll definitely sustain it and you'll be faster. And I think almost anyone can swing faster. There's only a few physical limitations that would then I'd take it away. But everyone I know that swings a golf club can swing it faster.
I've been seeing on Twitter, I just discovered that Tom House is now on Twitter. Okay, so see a bunch of little posts by him. And of course, that's the basis of some of the club weight things that you recommended to me that I built on my own. But, he's another one who's kind of a legend in this whole arena of, and I guess Tom Brady's still doing pretty well with him. So he's bragging about him on Twitter about how he's performing. So
he actually, what he did was, and a smart person, he attended seminars as a young new fitness trainer, Tom House, where the principles that the East Europeans were using in the 60s and 70s were discussed. And it's just underload, overload training. And he did some really good work with it, research, to get the weights to where they need to be and improved on an already good idea. And went from baseball then to other sports.
Yeah. So, it's all possible out there, people, to get a little more. Of course, having clubs done correctly is good, but you can also swing faster. Well,
I always laugh when someone says to me, "Oh, I swung too fast." Huh? Speed is a gift. We want speed. Yeah, okay, maybe. We do a lot of slow motion drills. When there's stuff you need to learn to improve your golf swing, then going slow might be better, but always within the context you're going to swing fast later.
Yeah.
Speed is a gift. Don't put it on the bench. It stays off the bench.
Well, another thing lately you've talked a little bit about on the club fitting forum is single length clubs, and I get the sense that maybe you're a little more into that, at least for some golfers, than you were in the past. And, I think I took a deep dive into single length irons, okay? I mean, I don't have the other set of irons that I have. I'm going to give this a real experience with me in my game, and I'm looking forward to it. It's not the easiest time right now when it's so cold and I can't really get on the range and hit balls off the turf, but I'm excited about it. So talk about where single length clubs are kind of fitting into what you're doing with golfers now.
First off, it just makes a lot of sense to me. If you can get it to where you can get your gapping and your increments correct, then it just makes a lot of sense. And we're, like I said, I'd say Germany's coming out of third world golf, but we're not advanced, that's for sure. Meaning there's tons of beginners. I get 100 new beginners every year as members. And for them, it's like perfect. You have one distance of the ball, one ball position, one lie angle, one plane, one posture. If my wife started today, she's single link for sure.
I just built, I built a set for a lady that's a 30 handicapper, right? And I think she has 7 clubs. She's got an 8-iron and a pitching wedge and a sand wedge, and she doesn't need all those other clubs. And she was kind of surprised. You're not going to make me get all these, and why? It's back to
the industry standard. The industry standard is 3-through sand wedge.
Yeah, right. Like you said at the beginning.
I sell a ton of people. I always call them the Tante Müllers. It's a bad thing to say. It's a stereotype. But it's like the old German woman that's not real sporty and over 60. And they never get more than 8 clubs. Some of them play with 6. They need they need a nice driver to get off the tee. They need 1 club to move the ball forward. And they need a few clubs for when they get closer than that 1 club that moves the ball forward flies. And they don't need any more. And they play fine with it, and every club has a purpose.
Yeah, it's a great way. One of my favorite fitting things is a guy, I hope he's listening, is a guy in North Carolina who came to see me, and he plays with 7 clubs. He loves to walk. He wants to carry his bag. He plays 9 holes almost every morning, but he's got the right 7 clubs for him to be able to play he wants to play. And that's just one of the most satisfying things I ever got to do with somebody is to help him find what really works for him. And he's happy as a lark.
I played 9 holes yesterday, and we're like kind of wet. And I like carrying in the winter. I don't carry in the summer. I could take a full bag, but I had, I think I got 8. Driver, 7 wood, 4-iron, 6-iron, 8-iron, pitching wedge, sand wedge. No, that's only 7. I got 7 clubs and a putter.
Well, a putter, so that's 8. You can count it.
Yeah, count the putter then. So I do have 8. And I play all winter like that. What's nice about that, I hit a 4-iron yesterday, Tony, where it was really a 5-iron, maybe even a soft 5, but I knew I couldn't get there with the 6. So I took the 4-iron, choked it down a little, sawed it off, and held the finish, and it just went like a dart straight at the flag. It was too long. I hit it too good, but it was like perfect contact, perfect ball flight. It was exactly the way I pictured it before I hit it, except it ended up about 10 yards too long.
Yeah, but it felt great. Yeah,
and it makes you be like with this half a bag. It makes you be a little more creative.
Yeah.
And when I get creative, my concentration goes up.
Yeah.
I'm more in the moment.
Yeah. Well, as we're close to ending, a couple of your most fun success stories from the year.
I got one that when I saw that question, I thought, this is a no-brainer. I know exactly who this is. I got a lady who came to me and said she's going to quit golf, and she wants me to help her not quit. And I said, oh, okay. And then I met her husband, and I knew her husband. And her husband's handicapped 12. She's a beginner, played the last 2 years, and just says, I'm just so frustrated. I can't hit anything. So we made it. They came to the hotel to stay. We made an appointment for like 4 weeks later. So we came to the hotel and stay, and I had her for like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the good news is she is definitely not quitting. She had played 2 years golf and never hit anything but a 7-iron. Never had a wood in her hand. And I watched her first 15 balls. Not one ball flew. Not one. Every single one of them was topped. I built her 2 clubs, one real short club to practice in her living room. And after I knew the story, so I brought a fitting system driver, 16 and a half degrees loft, 42-inch lightweight shaft. And in our lesson, in the whole weekend, we only hit the driver. We never hit the 7-iron. She's coming back January. I got her again in January. She's definitely not quitting, very happy, and hit a couple shots. That very first lesson that was something she'd probably twice as far as she'd ever hit a golf ball before, and with a smile on her face. And it's like the helpless, the needy, that's where I get the most joy. I've coached a lot of really good players, but it's when you get someone like that and you see it in their face, you know they're happy.
And what was the biggest thing that helped her to get to that? Can you talk about any 1 or 2 things that
Well, I can tell you exactly what it was, and I saw it immediately. She did typical beginner mistakes. She set up to the ball good with a really dysfunctional grip, but I didn't change her grip at the start of the lesson. I changed it at the end so that she could do it at home. But what she was doing is she set up the ball okay, stood up in the backswing, and not very little. She stood up a bunch and wrapped the club around her neck. Because of the dysfunctional grip, she couldn't get any wrist cock, so she bent her elbow, and she wrapped her left arm around her neck. The club was down by her left knee at the end of the backswing, and she could never get it back to the ball. So she changed her radius twice. She shortened the lever with bending her arm, and she stood up. So now she's a long way away from the ball compared to where she started. And she topped everything. She could never get down far enough and straighten her arms long enough. So I got her to use some elastic band. We use some resistance band and get a feeling of hand stay away from body on both sides. We put the band under the left foot, grab it in front of you, take a backswing, and just push your arms away from you. The band acts as like a what's it called? It's called paradox intervention. The learning term's called paradox intervention. She was used to taking her biceps and contracting them and pulling the club towards her. And with the band, it made her activate her triceps and push the club away from her. And she immediately took a bet. Her husband goes, "Huh? What's that?"
Who are you? Huh?
She immediately took a better swing. When we had to do these exercises for about 10, 15 minutes, and then with a golf club in both directions, put the band under the left foot, and then put the band under the right foot, working on the backswing in one, downswing another. But we called it Flossen weg. And I'm trying to think of what that means in English. It's like flossen is like your fins. But what was telling her, keep your hands away from your body. That's the number one thing I want you to learn. Keep your hands away from your body, because she pulled them onto her neck in the backswing and back onto her neck in the downswing and had no radius. And doing that while standing up, she was dead meat. And we also did another thing where we put her head against the door frame with a towel in between the door frame and her head, and she learned to take a little dance step to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left, turning so that she stayed at one height. I needed her to maintain her height. So as we got to the golf club then, after we did some band and some door frame, I put her in front of a mirror and said, "Okay, now I'm going to put my thumb at the top of your head. Okay, you got it? You see it? Your thumb's at the top of the head. Now what I want you to do is stay at that height and keep your hands away from you on both sides. Just swing back and forth." It looked so much different. And the first balls we hit were similar to what she was doing before, but with a better swing. And it didn't take her 5 balls where I had her practice hitting a tee first and then a ball on a tee to where she whacked one. She hit it like, for her, like I said, at least double. She's the longest shot she's ever made in her life. So that was like, for me, the joy in her face and the joy in his face. He pulled me aside already the first time we met, said, "Mike, please, I just would be so happy if we have time together now, we can play, and she's ready to quit because not one ball goes in the air."
Yeah, yeah. Wow. That's the perfect story.
And they're coming back. They live about 2 hours from here, and then I'll be seeing them all year next year.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to share that one. Well, number 7 is just about in the books. So any particular final words? And as I said in the notes, any particular book that Tony needs to read in 2021 that may not be on my list?
Yeah,
we used to share that. We used to share that a lot.
We have
a
long history of book recommendations, and most of them are books to learn. We had a little bit with John Wooden, but most of the books were either motor learning, how to practice, all kinds of stuff like that. So I thought today I'd throw you a knuckleball or a curveball and do something a little more, recommend something. Maybe you've already read it, but if I would recommend it, I'd say get the audiobook because it's sensational. The book's called Talking to Goats.
Huh.
You know that one?
No, I don't. So that's good.
But I know you know the author, Jim Gray.
Yeah.
Jim Gray has talked to every goat there is. Moments You Remember and Stories You've Never Heard by Jim Gray. The audiobook is cool because Tom Brady narrates, Vince Scully narrates, Snoop Dogg narrates, even Carol Burnett narrates. There's some really, really sensational stuff because he's talking with everybody from Michael Jordan to Mike Tyson. I mean, everybody.
Oh, those goats. Okay,
yeah,
now I finally...
the greatest of all time.
Now I finally got it. I was thinking...
I figured when I said Talking to Goats, you'd be going, what the heck?
That's perfect. Well, you probably know.
Sounds like a children's book.
Yeah.
No, it's more one of those inspirational. For all these hard times, it's a nice listen. The book's a good read, but the audio's better.
I love audiobooks.
Check it out on Google and see, or Amazon Line.
Yeah. Well, Mike, thanks for the time today and all the great things to talk about. Thanks for your friendship. One of these days, we'll connect in person. That will be one of the delights that I get to do. But it's always great to let you share things that help people play their best. So,
Tony, it's an honor and a privilege to be a long-time partner with you in something you're doing that really helps everybody.
Yeah. Well, take care. Happy. I've been writing in the Christmas cards instead of Happy New Year, have a Grateful New Year, Grate.
Yes.
But it could be Great. Full New Year too. So we need. We've had a good year because we're here and our families and friends are here, and it's all good. So
I'm definitely grateful. My family's happy and healthy and can't ask for more. I want to have the last word, Tony, because I've been practicing for a year.
Woo! Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is.
Yeah. So all you Golf Improvement podcast listeners, it's time to make it down to Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and see Tony. And you know why, don't you? Because he creates exceptional golf clubs, and you shoot lower scores.
It's kind of neat that's the truth.
So, my friend, thank you again.
Take care, Mike. I'm going to turn this off in a second, and we'll just talk for a second, and there you go.
The Golf Improvement Podcast is sponsored by Tony Wright and Game Improvement Golf. Tony creates exceptional golf clubs. You shoot lower scores.
Mike, thanks for creating another great learning experience today for myself and for our listeners. I put a link in the show notes to the Jakobsberg Hotel and Golf Resort in Jakobsberg, Germany, where golfers get the joy to work with and learn from Mike McFadden. I also put a link in the show notes to the book Mike mentioned at the end of the interview, Talking with Goats. I've already uploaded it to my Audible account, and I can't wait to listen to it. My shout out today is about the other really great thing I got to do after the interview I did with Mike. And it's to Scott Fawcett, creator of the amazing Decade course management system. I put a post on Twitter about what I wanted for Christmas and said I wanted a 1-hour Decade webinar. And within 10 minutes of that post, Scott replied, "Let's do it." And so he did a webinar for myself and Chris Griffin and Bo Harris, the other two Roane State Community College golf team coaches. Scott, thank you for being so giving. Not only did you do this webinar with us, but you're sending us some really neat goodies. I put a link in the show notes to where you can learn more about what is a truly neat system for helping you to play your best golf, Decade. Well, that's it for today and for the Golf Improvement Podcast in 2020. My next episode in 2 weeks will be a highlights webinar for podcast interviews that I was fortunate to do in 2020. See you in 2 weeks. See you in 2021. Take care and stay safe.
Game Improvement Golf, your source of information and inspiration to become an exceptional golfer now. www.gameimprovementgolf.com